There is an old saying in the fight game: you don't play boxing.
They say you play basketball, you play football, you play tennis, but you can't play boxing. You have to fight.
A boxing match is a fight, and far too often for comfort, a fight is kill or be killed, with the hope that it doesn't need to go that far. Like with every rule, there are exceptions. In a sport full of sweet scientists, Emanuel Augustus was an artist. His unique approach to boxing was both popular and polarizing.
Emanuel Augustus, he can go toe-to-toe with just about anybody in the business, and he enjoys doing it. Literally with his hands behind his back.
He fought as a flashy showboat, but when push came to shove, Augustus was always ready to rumble.
Emanuel Augustus was my toughest opponent. His record didn't show his skill set, but the guy was unbelievable.
He was the most robbed and jobbed boxer on planet Earth.
And he won this damn fight. This is a disgrace.
The drunken master was a master all the same.
He takes fights on quick notice, and you know what? The one thing about him, he can fight.
His opponent, Ray Olivera, had his own claim to fame. He was half responsible for the fight with the most punches ever thrown.
God bless. Times that can act as an influence.
In a savage war with fellow cardio machine Zach Padilla, each man averaged over 125 per round for all 12 rounds.
Even when he's on his heel. Nice uppercut. We can't really set down on it, but nonetheless, it's an effective out for round 4 with 7 jabs. What a degree that they have to be active to take. Those fighters cranking them here, too. Each man is a guts down in the trenches kind of a round. And it's also a round, at least. And maybe some of these body shots that he's been hit with has slowed Olivera down. Because he seems really...
When the final bell had rung, the pair had pitched over 3,000 punches between them. While Ray came up just short on the cards, it certainly made him an instant fan favorite. Both Ray and Augustus were fixtures on Friday night fights. Both experienced veterans are known for putting on a show.
Time and time again, the numbers speak for themselves.
The fight started at a crisp pace. Olivera storms forward behind his incredibly persistent jab. He throws boatloads of punches, and it doesn't take long for Augustus to start finding a home for his counterpunches.
They've had one first-round knockout among them.
Yeah. But the quicker hands, a little bit more explosive, with the natural ability of speed than Olivera.
Augustus had the faster hands and feet.
For Augustus would be right there on the outside, being that Olivera to close quarters.
Augustus was able to pull him.
Ray was indifferent to the power and was constantly throwing back.
He does so many times.
Making a stop right there. Tortoise just chugging along. That's where Olivera wants.
The fight took on a tortoise and the hare feeling. Augustus would open up in spots, but every moment he wasn't throwing, Ray was.
What you're usually going to see from Olivera will be that jab. Not a fast jab, and one that so far tonight has been fairly accurate. Quicker hands, the man in the leopard trunks.
Getting a good look at the hand speed right now.
He can take advantage of that distance like that with both hands.
Clawing his way back into the rounds as Augustus looked for his moments of space and time.
Two left hooks to the body and back upstairs.
But you can almost see the moment when Augustus has felt Ray's speed and power and gotten the timing on it down.
That advantage of speed on the outside.
Good round of action between these two. extent between the always entertaining Emanuel Augustus and the leopard print trunk.
When Augustus starts in the second round with his wild feints and stance switching, he feels comfortable enough to play.
Respect. He apologizes for coming in 5 pounds overweight, but he's looking for respect.
Olivera mostly.
Emanuel Augustus in a playful mood, with an opponent willing to throw boatloads of punches, always meant the fans were in for a treat.
Steady Augustus. Stabilize Augustus. Take some of that movement away.
You know the one we're falling in love with.
Augustus has done that to a lot of good fighters.
Augustus. You know, he said to me yesterday, he said, what a pleasure to me to see him in person. What are your thoughts when you visit with Emanuel?
I talked to Emanuel, and he's a respectable guy.
I think when you watch those clips.
Actually, yeah, I do, Ted. I'm like, why did I do this?
Now here's Augustus with the showboating and a left hooker cut that comes in. And this is what he just loves to do, the stylist.
Well, let's talk about what this...
The pace was torrid with Olivera, keeping his punch totals consistently in the triple digits. Augustus was keeping up mostly based on his accuracy.
The ones who can take you a little bit out of the fight.
What an uppercut!
And like I said, it can...
But numbers can't do justice to just how on fire Emanuel Augustus was that night.
It's almost as if a string is pulling up that left knee.
That's where you must, number one, keep your composure, as you just said, and make sure your hands go.
That's when you can get hurt, when you don't see something.
He was switching stances and throwing his hands up, playing to the crowd as Ray was somehow overshadowed despite his prolific work rate. In with a taunting showboat that carried the most flashy and unique style in all of boxing, Ray covered up and fired back. That was the thing about Augustus. Most showboats are disliked by a fandom that sees any kind of taunting as disrespect. The problem Augustus always presented was when his chips were down or he was stuck in a corner, the clown prince of boxing went from bozo to Pennywise.
There's more angles, more dimensions to Augustus than there is to Olivera.
He was just as happy throwing down with his back against the ropes. Ray tried to impose his sheer will onto Augustus, but no amount of punches were going to shake Augustus's confidence. No corner death ground would wipe the smile off his face. Between rounds, Augustus wanders slowly out from his corner, his eyes closed as he starts to sway along to the record playing in his head. Whatever song was going through his mind was the soundtrack to a demolition. Ray hung in and swung back. While Ray kept his nose to the grindstone, Augustus went full Harlem Globetrotter.
And then a left and a right.
He waited Augustus's artistic explosions out
And when he's doing that,
and fired back in bunches.
He did it in the 4th round, and he came back and pulled it off again here in the 6th round.
how to do. Perhaps a sign, maybe, Joe, of the concrete wall. Be able to just hold his own like he's doing right now. He's giving Olivera a taste of his own medicine on the inside.
8 rounds deep into a memorable contest, with his trainer sitting in live on commentary, Ray Olivera grabs at the back of his head. Augustus immediately lays off as referee Steve Smoger calls time. Nobody knew it yet, but Ray Olivera's career was over. An X-ray would later reveal a pinched nerve in his neck. Ray would never fight again. As Ray steps back in to touch gloves, Augustus clearly no longer wants any part of this. Steve Smoger is extremely reluctant too, but with Ray Olivera not selling a career-ending injury, the fight is called to continue. Augustus refuses to hit to the head, feints high, and goes to the body, doing everything he can to not hurt Ray Olivera any worse. An empathetic decision in a sport based on savagery.
Yes, 1988 to 2001 spanned his career, and a good trainer too. But
When Ray rolls his neck and cringes in obvious pain again, he knows it's only a matter of time before the doctor gets called in. Ray Olivera behaves like a warrior. He bites down on his mouthpiece and forces Augustus into a corner. As he bombs away with all the might a shorting nervous system can muster, you can hear him screaming.
They want to take a good look here.
I'm concerned, and I think I was touching on this.
He digs his left hook to the body and rips away at Augustus in audible agony. Augustus covers up as a kindness, taking full-blown hooks as Ray raged against the dying light of his career. With 30 seconds left on the round timer, Steve calls in the doctor.
Needs to be stopped.
Come here, doctor.
Steve Smoger's doing a great job by taking time to look things over. Let's listen in.
Where are you? Come on.
The doctor takes Ray through concussion tests. Steve had been a referee for decades and knew full well whatever was wrong with Ray wasn't something he'd seen as often as a concussion. Ray again reiterates the warrior code. I can see, I can think, I can fight. The doctor allows it to continue, and Steve relents to the medical degree. The round is allowed to run
When
out.
there's reason for him to step in and start showing concern about a fight not going on, he starts to show that concern, and the doctor decided to let him go, but
But Steve steps in to stop it between rounds. For no other reason than, I don't like how he's acting.
So the fight is over, as well it should be, as you see Emanuel Augustus coming over to the corner and talking to Ray Olivera. Steve Smoger, the outstanding veteran referee.
Augustus is the first across the ring to embrace his injured opponent. Ray screamed his loudest scream at everything and nothing. Bitterness comes easy in these moments. It's all too easy to push aside what there is to be grateful for, like the wisdom of an experienced referee or kindness amid the viciousness of a fistfight.
felt very concerned about Olivera, and I spent a lot of time the last couple rounds before we got to this point.
When Emanuel Augustus hung up the gloves, his record was unremarkable. He never made big money. He never got the breaks that A-side politics afford a fighter. He never held a title long. But on any given Friday, Augustus was impossible to upstage. In a career full of wild wars and wilder antics, no fighter was so sure to put a smile on your face. In his finest hour, against a man prepared to be paralyzed, it was the punches not thrown that cemented Augustus's legacy as the most beloved journeyman in boxing history. Because he understood some things matter more than wins and losses.